Welcome back, friends, to Build a Lot Acres. In today's video, we're going to go over my sump pump install, some of the things I got wrong, the commenters made note of, and how you can avoid it with your install. Stay tuned. Alright, so if you didn't see the original video of me installing the sump pump, I'm going to put it in the description of this video. But the purpose of today's video is there's a few things that I did wrong that I wish I had changed, and I ended up changing after the fact. And a lot of them were comments that people made, and they were 100% right. So hopefully, by showcasing some of the things that I did wrong that I should have done differently in this video, it can save you some time and aggravation. So let's go over what they are. All right, so the biggest thing that I got wrong that a ton of people commented, and I'm gonna link the original video down below in the description, but the biggest thing I got wrong by far was I do not put anything around the pump pit as far as landscape fabric. The reason that's important is going to keep sediment, sand, those kind of things, fines from washing into your pit and building up sediment, which can ultimately get sucked into your pump and cause premature failure. So they were right. I should have done it. I didn't listen. So what I ended up doing was I cut the pit, the caulking that I put around it to seal it. I undid the union, which was a nice thing that I did. I think that was a real wise move of mine to make it easy to take apart. Pulled the pump pit. I ended up putting the landscape fabric around it, reinstalled it, rehooked up the piping, and I think I'm good to go now. So this isn't a mistake I made. It's something I actually did do, but it's a real important thing. I think it's worth mentioning in today's video. Make sure you put a check valve in your system. That's going to keep the water from being able to fall back into the pump. Check valves allow water to go one way and not the other. So once the water gets past this, it can't fall back into the pit and keep continuously cycling and prematurely burning your pump out. So I did do this in the original video. Make sure you put a check valve in your line for your sump pump installation. All right, so what's the next thing, Bronson? So the next thing, I actually didn't do this, but if I was to redo this, I think I would have made the pit hole bigger, maybe 3 or 4 inches bigger all the way around. I would have put the landscape fabric, and then I would have put 3/4 inch stone around the outside of it and then sealed the top. I think the stone would allow a lot of the sediment and sands and that kind of stuff to get caught before it even got to landscape fabric. So it'd actually be like a first filter, and the landscape fabric would be the finer secondary filter. But I really don't want to redo all the whole floor. Hopefully just the landscape fabric that I added will be enough. But I will say my basement underneath this slab is like 2 feet of sand. The entire depth of this pit, which is 22 inches, was all sand. Normally, under slabs, you see 3/4 inch stone, not sand. But when they built the house in 1993, that's what they used. So that didn't help my cause. But I would definitely make the hole around the pit bigger and put 3/4 inch crushed stone on the outside of the pit against that landscape fabric. So another thing I think I would have done differently is make sure you set your pump as deep as you can. I've heard people say, the lower your pump is, you'll cycle more and burn out prematurely, but you also run the risk of not having it turn on quick enough. The groundwater raises up quicker than your pump can keep up with it. So I think you're better off having, a minimal amount of blocks on there. I have 1 concrete block. That's going to still allow a little bit of sediment to catch in the edge, if any gets in, which hopefully it doesn't with the landscape fabric. But before I had I think 4 or 5 blocks. So the pump was probably a good 6 inches higher than it is now, and I think it was just too high. So I would recommend keeping your pump as low as you can in your pit. So the next thing that I would change is I added this Y into the system. And what that's going to do is it has a cleanout plug that I can remove with threads. And if I want to add a smaller pump into the pit, maybe a transfer pump, while I'm working in the main pump, if I need to do something, get the water out of the pit, this will allow me an easy way to get the water into this main line, and it'll still get outside. So I think having a little transfer pump set up like that with a temporary line could do you a lot of good things. Say you needed to change out the pump, maybe it burnt out, stopped working, you had a lot of rain that day, you had to go out to the store and try to locate a new pump, and it might take an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours to get it and set it up. In the meantime, your pit's filling with water. This allows you to still get the water out into the main drain while working in the main system. Or if you had to change the check valve or something like that, it allows you to get access to the water. See how it works. I should have added this in the get-go, but like I said, this is just an easy place to add a hose or something so you can do a secondary drain into your main line if you need to work in your system. So the next thing that I would do differently is you want to make sure you pitch the run going horizontally outside to the exterior of your house. I put this pretty much level, which was a mistake. Now any water can't sit in there and it's going to still make its way outside. So make sure you put a decent pitch on your pipe. I would say anywhere from 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 inch per foot of run. So this is about, you know, to this tee is about 10 feet. So 10 times 1/4, you're looking at like 2.5 inches, which I raised it up quite a bit, which is why I had to rework all this area. I added a coupling, a new 45, and then I had to do it anyways to add this Y in here to add my drain line to. So make sure you pitch your horizontal pipe. I'll show you the rest of the stuff outside. So another thing you want to make sure you do, this wasn't so much a mistake, I just ran out of time. I knew I wanted to do it, but if you remember originally, this stuck out and stubbed out maybe 10 or 12 inches, which just allowed the water to shoot. And you can see in the ground here, it dug a pretty good hole. So my eventual plan is to have this pipe down underground. I'm going to dig a trench and pipe it out to daylight. But for now, to get the water away from the house and to keep it from circulating and just keep going back into the house, I added this. So what I did was I added this temporary line just to get it far away from the house, like I said, to keep it from recycling. Ollie. Can you hold him for a second? Yeah. So what I did is I added this temporary line just to get it far away from the house. I actually just heard it go off, so the water's actually going to come out of there right now. But this is a real important thing to do. Like I said, eventually I'm going to have it underground. This is just temporary till it stops raining, if it ever does. We have gotten so much rain this year. If you haven't seen the original reason I installed the sump pump, my video of my basement flooding where I had to fix it, that was just before the sump pump installation video, and it's a good one. I think you should check it out. But it's important that young Bronson here knows the right and wrong way to install a sump pump. See you next time. So we certainly hope you guys enjoyed today's video and you can learn from my mistakes. I don't know about you guys, but no matter how many projects I do, and I've done a lot of projects, I often think and wish I had done something differently. No matter how much I plan it out ahead of time and think about it, I always think of a better way or something I should have maybe modified after the fact. Let me know in the comments if that's how you guys end up thinking about your projects after you're done. But all in all, I'm really happy with how this came out. Once I get this underground line, I think it's going to be a lot better, and it's going to work out great. And like I said, this year has just been historically crazy as far as the amount of rain we've gotten here in Massachusetts. Let me know in the comments if your area of the country or your country has gotten a ton of rain this year. It's been very odd and hard to deal with the amount of groundwater coming up, but hopefully this will do the trick. Please check out the other videos of the sump pump installation and the cleanup of that crazy flooded basement in the description. See you next time.